this room is so packed, I'm reminded of what Dr. Johnson said about the fact that nothing concentrates the mind so wonderfully as the prospect of being hung in the morning. And there's obviously a lot of people in this room who feel the rope around their necks. Lenin famously said that the capitalists will sell us the rope that we use to hang them. I know a lot about Lenin because, as Stewart said, I'm an ex-communist. I actually have a lot to atone for, and I've been spending the last few decades trying to do that. You know, in Vietnam, they had a program called Chu Hoi, meant open arms. And they accepted into their ranks defectors from the Northern Army. Often they were Catholics who had been oppressed in their faith up north. When they came down, they made the most effective anti-Viet Cong fighters. Some of them were called Kit Carson Scouts. But ex-communists make the best anti-communists because we know all the lies. We know all the lies because we're taught how to lie. All right? I was in the secret party, and all communist parties have an open party, a face that they show to the public. Then they have essentially the private party, and then they have the secret party. I was a member of the secret party of the Progressive Labor Party, a Maoist party. And as Stewart said, I organized workers' militias for them. We'll not go into that. It's not pertinent. What I'm here to talk about is intentions of the enemy. A lot of you military guys know that that's an intelligence function that everybody needs to know before you shape a battle plan. You need to know what are the intentions of the enemy. I'll tell you about the enemy. Collectivism, and I'm not really talking just about communism here, you understand. The guy that really saved my soul, a German former Wehrmacht surgeon that I met in the 70s, he wrestled the devil for my soul and he won. Over a period of about 2 weeks, he took me from being a dyed-in-the-wool Marxist-Leninist, and he completely ruined me as a communist. He started out, for those of you Austrian economics school folks, he started out with Friedrich Hayek's The Road to Serfdom, and had me read that. And then gradually he ended up giving me a reading list, and I spent the next 10 years figuring out what I didn't know, what my public school education had never covered. And that's key too, because the communists and all collectivists love ignorant people. They love them. Why do you think the schools are the way they are? Because they've been deliberately taken over, dumbed down. If you have stupid people, they are easily herded. And the one thing, when you're inside the party, you know what their attitude is? The masses are asses. Only they know what in their benighted knowledge the masses should be doing. Remember that all the lies are in service of the party line. All of the lies are in fact in service of the liars. They say they are for the people. In fact, they are for the small cadre that runs the party at the top. And that's true of all collectivist parties. In fact, the masses are asses thing, in the 90s, when I was fighting the neo-Nazis at street level, I had a conversation with a guy named Dennis Mahon. And he ran White Aryan Resistance. Real racist guy. He dabbled a little bit in the Oklahoma City bombing. He was very lucky that he didn't get arrested. But he told me that. He said, you know, Mike, the masses are asses. I said, you know, Dennis, the first time I ever heard that it was 1972 at a Communist Party meeting. Okay. Collectivism is just that. Regardless of what they say it serves, whether it's Nazism, communism, socialism, fascism, tribalism, racism, everything becomes in service to the collective. Dr. Richter taught me that systems should be judged, political systems should be judged on how many bodies they stack up and how they deal with individual liberty, with free men and free markets, with the rule of law. And he showed me that it's the American Republic, as crafted by the founders, is the apex of political systems. And the rest of them, it's not on the left-right continuum, it's a circle. And at the bottom of the circle are all these collectivist butchers, communists, Nazis, whatever, that manipulate the masses or asses to do their bidding for their own power. All right? Now, the thing you've got to remember when dealing with any of this is the language of the lie. Lie, you're taught to lie in the party. You're taught to that everything serves the party line. And you're also taught to use language to frame the debate. If you've got the language up front, you've already won the debate. Where do you think the terms assault weapons comes from? Where do you think the terms common sense gun safety comes from? All right? All of these various language tweaks. It's fine-tuned marketing to craft the argument, to suck you in to their worldview, and they know they already got you beat. Right? So don't get sucked into that. The other thing they'll say is, when you're dealing with collectivists, well, you know, the Democratic Party isn't a communist party. Well, okay, maybe it's democratic socialist. You know, my youngest daughter got into trouble one time in high school because her social studies teacher asked the class, can anyone tell me the difference between a communist and a socialist? And my daughter, who had learned this at her daddy's knee, held up her hand and said, I know that answer. A communist is a socialist that is found his AK-47 and is willing to use it. And a socialist is a communist who hasn't yet found his AK-47 nor the guts to use it. Of course, I got a call. And so here's the principal and here's the social studies. So they're all very concerned that she's, first, that she's talking about guns, and secondly, that, you know, she seems to be so misguided about communism and socialism. Don't you know socialism is nonviolent? And so I listened to him for a second. I said, let me ask you something. You ever been a socialist? To the principal. Have you ever been a socialist? Well, no, they hadn't. I said, you ever been a communist? No. No, they hadn't. So, well, I have. So I know what I'm talking about. So, now that we got that established, all right, the question is, do you want to fight this out in the press, or do you want to let my daughter go home and not be suspended? They decided that let my daughter go home and not be suspended. When you're in the party, there's this, you're always graded on your ideological purity. Right? There are radishes and there are killer tomatoes. I'm sorry, there's radishes, tomatoes, and killer tomatoes. A radish is a negative term, which means that she's only red on the outside, she's white on the inside. Right? Tomato is red through and through. And a killer tomato, which was very popular after the movie came out, Attack of the Killer Tomatoes. A killer tomato is a communist that's willing to pull the trigger. And if you look at the current administration, if you look at who they are, and I can pull out names, but we really don't have time to go through that. These people are killer tomatoes. They really are. They are willing to do whatever it takes to bend you to their will. Now, they won't say that this is for the party. And in fact, they may not even be party members, all right? Lenin also had a term, useful idiots. All right? A useful idiot is someone who doesn't know he's doing the bidding of the party, but does it. All right? And there's lots of useful idiots in this administration and in this country. But the thing that bothered me the most about Obama was when I learned that his mentor growing up was Frank Marshall Davis. Frank Marshall, there's a book I recommend everybody to get. It's called The Communist. It's about Frank Marshall Davis, a guy who joined the Communist Party after, knowing full well about Soviet atrocities in Eastern Europe and everything. He joined the party after that, with his eyes wide open, and was an agent of Soviet influence in the United States. And he was selected by Obama's grandparents, who were leftists also, to be his mentor because his father wasn't there. And that told me all I really needed to know about where Obama's heart was. But remember, Obama is merely the public face. All right? The various factions of collectivism that stand behind him. And remember, there is no, I'm sorry, guys like Alex Jones, and this is going to be heresy to some people, but guys like Alex Jones, who posit that there's this spider in the central web, that is maneuvering all these things, and everything is a false flag. All right. There's lots of spiders and lots of webs, and these people compete. And I don't know if you noticed, but spiders eat each other. All right. Nazis claim that they're the natural enemies of communists, but in fact, and vice versa, but in fact, they're two sides of the same collectivist coin. All right. What's important? Again, free men, free markets, faith. Okay? If you've got a system that protects those, as our founder systems did, as it was crafted, right, that's where you need to put your faith. That's where you need to put your fidelity. And one last thing, mentioning Alex Jones. One of the things we were taught in the party, the best way is not to use an outright lie to get what you want. It's called disinformation. As a matter of fact, that's a Soviet term. Disinformation is a kernel of truth wrapped in a lie, packaged so credulous people will pass it on to other credulous people and influence their behavior to go in a certain way. So I gave up on Alex Jones when I identified, and by the way, I'm the guy that broke the Fast and Furious story on the internet in December 2010. Alex Jones has in the past uncritically repeated deliberate disinformation, stuff that a fifth grader could spot. And I don't know what his motives are. I don't know who he loves. Okay? And like I said, this is heresy to a lot of people. But you can call me what you will. You can doubt my ancestry. Don't doubt my footnotes. If I tell you that something's happened, just like Fast and Furious, it has happened. All right? And I don't get involved in quote-unquote conspiracy theories. The thing about conspiracy theories, though, is every now and then you find a real conspiracy, like Fast and Furious. So I'm not saying ignore everything he says. I'm just saying take it with a grain of salt. Take that as advice from an ex-communist who's trying to atone for his past. All right? Thank you.